Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about army generals and their effects on army groups and then their armies. If you like this video, subscribe, comment, notification bell, all that stuff. The new schedule, which will be in a post, is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Can't do Tuesday and Thursday because I have classes that I need to get done. Anyway, without further ado, we're just going to get into it. Okay. So today, we're going to talk about all these traits, which we've already talked about. We're going to see how they apply to each army group, okay? So we should first start off with some generals, because we're going to talk about all their stats. So that's what we're going to do. So each general has stats. These stats are determined by a whole bunch of factors we're not going to get into, but basically it's just how they level up, and it's a lot of randomness. Okay, so from left to right, their attack skill. This is just a flat attack bonus. So if a unit is attacking, they get 10% more soft attack, hard attack, everything, okay? That's what that means. Defense. If they're getting attacked, they get 10% more defense. Very good skill, okay? This is the green horse thing is basically their planning, okay? So that's going to increase their planning speed and max planning. Again, decent skills to have. And probably the most efficient skill to have that is very, very good to have besides attack is this blue one, which is your logistics skills, okay? Reducing supply consumption by 10% flat out is amazing, okay? This skill is what Logistics Wizard does too, okay? So if you have Logistics Wizard and you have a dude that has very good supply consumption, you can fight in terrains that have almost no supply. So this is what these mean. Another thing to think about. Your guys only get one of these little traits right here. So what we're talking about here is their high command. They only get one. Doesn't matter. You cannot stack multiple ones on them. Okay? Okay, so next, basically, what we're going to do is traits. You can see that Heinz Guderian here, he has all these traits, which I added. Basically, what we're talking about here is they have a certain amount of trait slots they can get, okay? This is different from these traits. All the earned traits, every single general can get without fail, okay? They can get all these traits. It's fine, right? They can get them all. Now, they only have a few specific trait slots, so this is what these two down here. So if you click on something, it'll say, hey, after you assign this trait, you'll have one more trait slot left, okay? So what this is telling you is that you have a limited amount of trait slots, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to give him traits, right? So I'm just random. We're going to give him Combined Armed Expert, and we're going to give him Infantry Expert, okay? And as we can see, we can no longer take any of these general traits right here. So what we need to do, and this is what a lot of people do in peacetime because it's very efficient to do it then, is we need to get your command power up enough so that you can make him a field marshal, okay? When you make him a field marshal, you're going to be able to promote him, which we will do, right? You basically, when you promote him, you can get another trait slot. So when you make people field marshals, not only do they have access to all these high command stuff, right, that you can give them, they also have access to their field marshal traits, and on top of that, they get one more trait slot. So this is why, in general, you would make all of your good generals a field marshal, because they have an additional trait that they can use. There is literally no reason to not promote a guy to a field marshal. There's one downside, which we're going to talk about, but it's basically, hey, you lose all your stats for a little bit. So right now, we can promote him, right? So we're going to promote him. As we can see, we cannot take a trait. So we're going to promote him. This is the one thing. He will temporarily lose a skill level. While adjusting his responsibilities, okay? So basically, he's going to go down a level, okay? Now, when we find him again, right, we can see that all of his stats right here have gone down a level, but it's temporary, okay? They're all going to come back. It's just 100 days, okay? But we can see that he has also one additional trait slot right here that he can now take, right? So you can take whatever trait slot, again, whatever you want. And this is the way to get one additional trait slot on your guys. So next, we're going to move on to how it all works together in an army. Okay, so in an army, basically we're going to start here with the army group. If you assign a field marshal, he's going to apply the benefits down to the generals, okay? Now, he's going to apply 100% of all of these benefits right here down. 100% of all these benefits go down. All these general traits, earned traits, terrain traits, and even adaptable is going to be cut down by 50%, okay? If you hover over an army, you will see this. You can see that our field marshal, Gunther von Klug, which is this guy right here, Gunther von Klug, he is only going to apply partial bonuses for some items, okay? If you look at the terrain penalty reduction, it's at 15%, okay? Now, you can see that on Felix Scheiner, he has adaptable, okay? The Field Marshal also has adaptable, but you can see that the bonus that the Field Marshal will apply is only half, okay? However, if you look at organization loss when moving, minus 30%, the entire army gets it, okay? Now, the reason for this is it is because it is a Field Marshal trait, which means it applies at 100% efficiency, okay? Another thing you have to take in mind is that the attack bonuses. So right here, if you hover over this army group thing, you can see the whole benefit of what the Field Marshal should apply to regular divisions. However, this is in theory, right? You can see that his attack is 10, okay? But it's cut down by half. It's cut down by half when it goes to an army. As you can see, it's only going to go to 5, and that will apply, okay? But just remember that all these stats up here are applied at half, too. All these ones up here are at half. The only ones that apply fully are Field Marshal traits. Now we can see that our general, again, is adding traits to his own divisions. Now, with all of this combined, you can see that the defense score, right, is like 7.5%. And then the attack score is 11 to 12%, or 12 to 13%. And the supply consumption, if you add it all together, is over 20%, okay? Now, the reason it is because Gunther von Klugen, right? This guy right here has field logistics, okay? This is a Field Marshal trait, and it reduces supply consumption by 15%. And then his trait right here of the supply consumption minus 7.5% is halved, but that is applied in the partial bonus. And then all of that combined gives you a minus 18.7% for the entire army. Then you also apply the minus 5% for your general. So this is how all of those stats combine. Again, this is just so you have an idea of what's going on for all of your guys' stats. Another thing you can look at here for your army group is basically you can see, like, let's say you need to send a whole army group, right? You can look at the supply demand. This states all of the supply demand of the entire army group. Right now you can see it's 14.86. If you click a single army, you can see how much that army requires in supplies. So 13.79. And then you can also see their fuel demand, okay? At max consumption, this army will spend 903 fuel a day. If you click on this army, you can see that the supply use is 1.07 and then the fuel usage is 288, okay? So this just gives you, and then if you go back to your Field Marshal, you can see that it is 1.1K a day for the entire army group and then 14.86 for the supply use for everyone, okay? This gives you a general idea of what army groups you need to send, or even specific what actual armies that you can send to a front line if you're looking at the supply map mode and you need to look at how much supply is available, like 15%, like 15 right here, right? You can tailor your divisions to know how much supply that they will in theory use, okay? So another thing that you can think about here is that if you click on your army groups, they have specific command powers that they are able to do, okay? And these apply to all of your army groups, okay? So this is why it says like 281 battalions, whereas if you click right here, it's only 258 battalions, okay? So this basically gives you the ability to pop their special abilities, right? So he has a special ability, extra supplies from Logistics Wizard. He can pop it for the entire army group, okay? And whereas generals can only apply their specific groups to their specific units right here, okay? So again, just something to think about. One last thing that we will cover in a little bit is basically how to do front lines and get planning at the same time. Okay, so one last thing to talk about here is before we get to the frontline orders and all that stuff. Basically, we're just going to go over these little details up here. That we already know what the supply and the fuel usage does. You can just ban stuff up here. You can see what's the limit of how many armies you can lead. Another thing right here you can do is you can see the mean and the median, or the organizations right here. You can see which specific divisions are in your template, and you can hover over here, and then you can select each individual template, which is different from previous update. You can select all. You can do a whole bunch of random stuff. If you select all in a army group, you select actually every single unit right here. These two important things right here is you can select the motorization level right here for the Field Marshal, and then you can make it go up or down, okay? This is the same as doing it from a supply hub. It's just going to do it on a field marshal level. How much would I trust this? Not really, but it is there. And then if you go down one step to your armies, you can do the exact same thing for the motorization. You can even assign a railgun or air wings. Most people don't do these two, though, because they want to do it manually. I'm also one of those people that wants to do it manually. You can also finally see here, if you click this, you can strategically tell them to redeploy. So let's just say I put it on, right, and I want them to go here. They will all strategically redeploy, okay? Another thing you can do is what most people do is they just, They will select all these units right here, and then they will move them. And then they will shift left control B, right? And then I will move them on a strategic redeploy, okay? But there's just various ways to do it. You also see a shortcut here, which is control B, yeah. It just depends on what you fancy. You can't consolidate anybody because they're all at full strength, but like if there are 2 half units down here that are broken down, you in theory could. I would never do that, though. You can also see the total weight of the divisions, how many transports it costs. You can split them, hold them, and then you can unassign all units from this army. These last things down here, which people don't really use, and I'm also one of those people, you can sort them by a whole bunch of stuff. You can sort organization, strength, or production, anything. You can reverse order it. You can do by warning, by template, by experience, by preparedness, by status, and then by name, and also by fuel, and then by army. Again, just however you want to do it, however you want to do it. The last thing right here is you can switch the armies up for how many you have selected, right? And you can basically either do it this way or this way. Last thing right here on the sidebar, you can choose an insignia, right? You can choose any insignia. There's some mods that let you override and do a lot of stuff with this. But this will change the actual army group run right here. And then if you go to an army, you can do the same thing, right? Then it's just up there. And then it's also right here. It's completely dependent on however you want to do it that way. Another thing right here is the settings. You can do a reinforcement priority. Basically, just prioritizes the how much supplies will come to this theater in general. I would use this for like your elite armies, and then your reserve armies get medium, and then really garrison guys get low priority. Okay. You can also pull up a combat log here for equipment, and then your division details. It's just a whole bunch of other information that you also have at your disposal. And like I said, if you hover over here, you can see all the stat breakdowns and how they are applied. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the frontline order. Okay, so this is how you're going to get planning and be able to control your units at the same time, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to select your army group. You're going to click the frontline button. You're going to shift, click. You're going to hold down left shift and then click on this on a front line, okay? So right now it's the Polish front line, okay? You're then going to drag this, click on the offensive order, drag it in the country, and then let it go, okay? Now, just like normal, all of your guys should be getting planned preparation bonuses, okay? Now, here's the thing. If you want to be able to control your units at the same time and get this planning preparation bonus, all you have to do right here is unassign the units, okay? If we unassign all of these units, you can see that they are keeping their planning bonus because they are technically on the front line, okay? Now, if we start moving some guys back, what you can see is that their planning bonus will go down, okay? Because they're not on the front line. However, if you move them back, you can see that their plan bonus, again, is going up every day. So it's just something to think about. Most of the time, this is almost always using MP, and it's not banned. It's basically you just get planning bonus by doing this so you can control all of your front lines. So basically, you would assign a field marshal. You put all your tanks under a general. You give the field marshal an army group like this. You give him an attack order like this. You unassign, and you go to the general, and then you unassign the divisions right here. And then you steamroll all the way through Russia, okay? So with the planning bonus. So that's how you use it, okay? So now, on to conclusion. Okay, so in conclusion, we have gone over all of these little traits that generals and field marshals have, how those bonuses are applied, how the field marshal traits are applied and the general traits are applied to all of your units. If you found this helpful, leave a like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. The next video will be on Wednesday. So I will see you then.